As web designers, we're always looking for the lowest effort way to just take our sites to the next level. And so when you're creating websites with Framer, you're also looking for some sort of component, some sort of effect that you can just put on the website to give that wow effect for your visitors. So in this video, I'm going to show you a bunch of these components, more specifically 6, that you can start using today for completely free in any project, both personal and commercial. So yeah, my name is Nandi, this is Framer University, and let's get started. So all the components that I'm going to be showing in this video are available on the Framer.universe website. If you don't know about that website, well, then you should know about it because it has a bunch of resources. As you can see, it has almost 500 resources. It's absolutely amazing. But yeah, all of them will be linked down below. But the first one that we're taking a look at is called the click effects. So this component allows you to create, I wanted to open this link. So it allows you to create this sort of like clicky effect that you can see on this personal portfolio of Eduard Bodek. With this Framer component, you can achieve just that. Let me show you how it works, because it actually has multiple presets, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So if you remix the project that you find on the resources page of Framer University, you're going to get this. And so what you can see here is that we have multiple cards, and the component is just showcasing the different presets that we have. So we have the rings, the particles, which are little particles. We have crosshair, wavy. We have burst as well, which is what we see on the inspiration here on this personal portfolio. And we also have sniper, which is a little bit more exciting, I guess. So the way this works is you just have to put the click effects component inside of the frame where you want to enable this effect. So here it's used in a little weird way because we're using them only within these cards. What you would normally do is you would just, create a page here, new page, and you would just drag and drop this component right on the canvas. So click effects, drag it here. As you can see, it's an invisible component. You don't see anything. You can actually set the you can set the size to 1 pixel by 1 pixel. You can pin it to the top left, and basically that's it. And all you have to do is just put it within your desktop breakpoint and not nest it within any other elements. So do not put it within the main container or anything. Just let it rest here below the desktop breakpoint. And that's it. Then all you do is on the right panel, you just customize it. So here in this case, it's black. So you can see we have a black rings, but we can change the effect to, let's say, burst. Then we're gonna have this burst. And then if we want to make it larger, we just set the size to larger size. So again, it's fully customizable. You can play around with it. You can change the stroke. You can rotate it around. So yeah, make sure to try it out and have fun with it. One little thing that I will suggest you to do is what is happening here as well. As you can see, when we click here, it's black, or when we click here, it's white, to make sure it shows up on any background, which is achieved with the blending mode. So the way you do that is you set the click effects color to white. So now we're not really going to see it. I mean, it's a little bit visible, but not really. What we do to make sure that it's visible is after setting the color to white, we go to styles, blending, and then we set it to difference. And that's the magic pill, because now it will always make sure that it's visible. So if we have a white background, it's going to be black. But if we have a black background, we click over that, it doesn't work, and I'm so sad. I actually don't know why. I actually don't know why it doesn't work. It should actually work. Maybe Framer just didn't update my changes, thankfully. So sometimes when you go into preview, your previous changes are not live, but as you can see, now it clearly works. So just a little quick tip for you for using this component. And let's go into the next one. So here's the next one, called Ticker Pad component. This looks absolutely amazing in my opinion, or you can create pretty amazing effects with this one. So this is basically created by Daniel originally. He has this project called Fancy Components. If you scroll here, you'll find a bunch of cool stuff. And yeah, I just really like porting these effects over to Framer because yeah, you just want to make sure that it can be used by anyone, not just people who can understand what the hell this code snippet is, because I don't know. So yeah, basically the way you use this component is you just put it on the Framer canvas, and what you have to do is you have to define a path that the elements that you connect to the component will be following. So in this case, we are using a preset, so you can see we can use it in either preset or custom mode. So we have a bunch of presets like spiral, loop, wave, curly, and stripes. In this case, we're using a spiral. So, but we can use it in loop or whatever, and then we can change the amount here so it's not as crowded. And as you can see, these elements that are just sitting here on the left, these are just simple components. So we could just have a simple frame, and then after selecting the component, we're just connecting these like this. It's that simple, not complicated at all, I think. And yeah, those things will be just following the line, the path that we defined here with the preset or in the custom mode. And yeah, you can play around with these different properties like adding a feed or removing that or setting the direction, speed, blah blah blah. You can do a bunch of things with it, by the way. So make sure to always play around with the properties. For example, in this case, it speeds up as we start scrolling down, which is pretty good in my opinion. But if you want to do something a little bit more custom, you want to draw a custom path, make sure that it follows that, you can do that really easily. You just press P inside the framer, you draw a path. So I'm just gonna do this. Draw a crazy path here. And then I just right click this and click copy and copy SVG. So now I have the SVG code of this path on my clipboard. I can now select the thicker path component, switch the path to custom mode, and this is where I paste my code in that I currently have on my clipboard. So Command and V, and it is right here. And now, as you can see, these elements have already switched their position, and now they're following the path that I defined here on the left inside the framer. So yeah, I think it's just a pretty cool little component, isn't it? Okay, so this one is quite interesting. It's called Shiny Cursor Effect. You could be asking, what the hell is a shiny cursor effect? Well, it's kind of like, it's not only a shiny cursor, we could also call it puffy stickers, because it helps you create like a puffy sticker effect. So yeah, I originally came across Arthur's work. Let me show you. It's just a little tweet. As you can see, he posted that he was able to create this sort of like shiny cursor effect, or this puffy sticker effect that can be applied to sort of like any element, and he provided the code for it. So I went ahead and ported it into Framer. So if you copy this or remix the project, you're going to see this. And so you can see that here in this project, I'm adding the effect to these little emojis, which are actually just simple. It's just text, actually, I think. I think I can change this to, yeah, on the right panel, I can change this to a little rocket if I want to. And now the rocket will be puffy. It's pretty cool, right? So how does it work? Well, it works in a way that you have any element. It can be a text, again, with an emoji, maybe something like this. And then you have to make sure that this element is actually wrapped in something, like in case if it is text, because we cannot put elements within the text, right? On the layers panel, we cannot nest anything within this. So I'll have to wrap these in a stack by right-clicking and add stack. I'm gonna set this to fit content, maybe add a little padding. And so then we grab the component from the left panel or from the resources page. We just put it within the frame that we wanna, make shiny. So we just set, again, this is just the invisible component. We just set it to episode positioning. We make sure to customize it here in the right panel with color, size, brightness, and edge blur. And at the end of the day, we hopefully gonna get something that looks great. I just want to make sure that it's a little larger. So yeah, as you can see now, this hand emoji is having this little effect. And again, you can add this to any element. So if I want to, I can just delete this hand, and I can instead just turn this stack that I created into a frame that has a color, maybe 3000 pixels of width and 300, I don't know if I said 3000, but whatever. And I can just round it corners a little bit, maybe make it grayish so we can see the shine. And then now it's gonna be shiny. I don't know what you're gonna use this for, but I think it's pretty cool, right? It looks pretty interesting. And again, feel free to experiment with the properties because you can change the color. Like if you want to have, I don't know, like yellow highlight, you can have that, no problem. So maybe you have, I don't know, just let me just play around with this. Maybe you have a colored blue here. Maybe you copy this color. Then on the shiny cursor, you have the same color, but in a little bit of a lighter version. That might create a cool effect. Yeah, great. And yeah, you can also play around with the size, the brightness, and the edge blur to create different effects. Puffy stickers, shiny cursor effect, looks pretty cool. Okay, so the next one is a really famous effect, is the cursor image trail effect. And it's inside Framer, and you don't have to use code in order to create this or add it to your website. So let me just give you a few examples of how this can be used before diving into Framer and showing you how it works. Here's this website, for example. It's called stevemacgeorge.com. And if you go here, you're going to see this cursor image trail. As you can see, I'm moving my cursor and little images are popping and they're disappearing. Really cool, really fun. And this other example uses the same thing, but with a little different setting. And by the way, this component that I'm going to show you, the Framer version, allows you to create both of these. So like this, like crazy version can also be created. As you can see here, the appear animation is not actually animated, they're just appearing instantly. But yeah, both of these are possible. And let me tell you that you can do even more, like even crazier effects. If you go to the demo page of this resource, you can see that this is sort of like a normal cursor image trail implementation, but we can have different like versions. As you can see in this one, we're like blurring the images as well as scaling them. Here we're 3D transforming them. That's how they appear. It's pretty crazy. And then we also have the instant, which is, you know, pretty similar to this one. So let's jump into Framer and see how it works. So this is a component that we can just drag and drop onto the canvas. As you can see, it's right here. It's kind of invisible. We just see the text below, but there is actually a component here. As you can see, it's just filling up the available space by sending it to absolute position and, you know, setting these pins to 0. It just makes sure that it is always responsively takes up the full width and height of the viewport. You might be asking why. Why do we have to do that? Well, because if we set this to a smaller size, let's say I set it to only over this little text, then if I'm hovering around, it's not going to show up. Only if I hover over the text, as you can see it. So the component only works when we hover over the actual component area. That's why if you want to make sure that it's added to the full viewport, we set it up in a way that it's covering the full area, right? Right. Great. So how does it work? If you select it on the right panel, first of all, we can upload a bunch of images. This is the first thing that you're going to have to do. Then you're going to style the images. So you're going to set the width, the height, the radius, all that stuff. And then you can set the frequency. So how frequently these are appearing. As you can see, in this case, it's really frequent. Like I'm moving my cursor and I cannot even process the images. They're coming so fast. But if you want to do something like that, you have to increase the frequency to a little bit higher. Oh my. Yeah, so as you can see, it is getting a little out of hand. it's gonna be really frequent. It's gonna be crazy. But yeah, so I recommend actually keeping this a little bit lower. So that's the frequency. You also have visible for. So you can see we show up an image and then it disappears. Like it disappears after a while. That's what we can set here. Visible for 0.5 seconds. If we set visible for 10 seconds, then it's gonna be there for a much longer time. Great, but I actually prefer something like 0.5. And then here comes the little bit crazier part, because we can set up the animation. So we can say how it comes in and how it goes out. As you can see, first of all, we have the in. So this is where we define the appear, the enter effect. It has a from and a to state. The from state defines where it's coming in from. As you can see, we define that it's coming in from 0 opacity. So initially the image is not visible. It's coming in from 0.5 scale, so it's scaled down slightly. So it's gonna scale in. And it has a little blur, and it has, as you can see, no rotation, but if we want to add some rotation, we can do that as well. And so that's the from state, and the to state is 1 opacity, so fully visible, 1 scale, scaled into its normal 1 scale, which is basically its default size, and we remove the blur. And this is how the enter animation is defined. As you can see, the images come in from that position, like from 0.5 scale, so they scale in, and they also have a little blur. You can see they have blur as they come in. And what else? Yeah, they also have 0 opacity and then 1 opacity, so they fade in. But you can see that then we have an out effect, because after 0.5 seconds, it kind of goes back and it scales down, loses opacity, no longer visible. So that's defined also here in the out part of the animation object. So here, now it just goes back to 0.5 scale. But if I want to do something different, like I want it to come in, scale in, and then when it goes out, I want it to scale up a little bit, maybe 0.5 scale. Now we're gonna see that we have a different effect. I don't know why I don't know why I'm not seeing it anymore. I'm not really happy. It seems like that this simple change. Oh, okay. So okay. Let's get back to 0.5, because I was trying to do set it back to 0.5 and stuff, but that's not the problem. I somehow set the opacity to 0. As you can see, it's that easy to mess things up in Framer. So now you're gonna see that it scales in, and then on the out, it scales up. So it's that easy to customize this component, as you can see. And again, the best part is that you don't have to write any code to achieve this. And then you also have perspective if you are doing some crazy 3D stuff. So maybe let's just quickly show it to you. We have maybe a 3D transform on the out effect. So maybe when it leaves and it goes out and it disappears, maybe in the meanwhile we are flipping it. So maybe we set the Y rotation in 3 dimensions. So it's going to be doing this basically to 90. And by the way, we can set the transition here. But yeah, if we set perspective here, then it's going to also have sort of like a strong perspective distortion while that 3D rotation is happening. As you can see, like this. And it looks pretty cool. So yeah, that's it for the image trail. Now on to the next component. So this is one of my favorites, the interactive 3D image distortion framework. And I'm going to tell you why I like this really much. It's because this is the definition. So this is the definition of a low effort way of turning something boring into exciting. Because, let's say you just have an image in the background of your website, and you're like, this is a little bit boring. How do I make it more exciting? Well, you just put the image in this component and it has a 3D distortion effect. How cool is that? So all you have to have is the component. You just paste it on the canvas and you upload the image. And there you go. You have this. By the way, this was recreated from the ManyChat website. So big props to them for creating this. As you can see, it just looks pretty cool. See, I don't even know what to say about, like, it's pretty simple. You just grab the component, put it in the background of your website wherever you want to use it, and on the right you just upload the image. It's that simple, and then you just have a few simple properties to change the effect, like how much it's, like, you know, distorting, how it's moving. It's either moving in a way that it's following the cursor, so if I move my cursor to the top right, as you can see, it's moving that direction. If you do opposite, it's going to move the opposite direction. That's basically it. And again, I like these components because it just makes it so easy to create something cool, something a little bit more interesting. If you actually browse the Framer University website for, like, other components, you're going to find a bunch of components that work similarly. So, for example, if we scroll down here, the 3D image scan effect, this is created the same way. So this little girl is having this 3D image scan because I uploaded the image into a component, and now it has the effect. Really cool. If we scroll down even further, we're going to find stuff like dither and ASCII. So for example, this component dithers the image. So these are just simple images that we uploaded in Framer, and on the Framer website, the dithering is happening. So you don't have to put it into Photoshop, export it, and then put it into Framer. You just upload it into Framer, and the effect is applied on the website inside of Framer. It's so cool. Let me actually show you one more ASCII, interactive ASCII. Like, this is the ultimate. Like, just look at this. Like, this is a simple image, but it just turns it into this interactive ASCII art. That's just so cool. And lastly, let me just talk about one big question that beginners might have when they start building Framer websites, is that, you know, how can we put stuff inside of paragraphs inside of Framer? And not just simply put stuff inside of paragraphs, but do it in a way that the text actually keeps its responsiveness. As you can see, it breaks into new lines. These little things that we put in the text, those are also bringing into new lines. It just works. And of course, you could, like, put things in there with episode positioning and all sorts of crazy stuff, but that wouldn't really be responsive, to be honest. So this little component is your solution. And again, big props to Daniel for creating fancy components, because again, this is ported from his work into Framer. So if we go into the Framer project, again, if you remove the project, you're going to see exactly this. You can see here are some examples on the left. We can just take a look at them. So for example, here's this one. Let me show you how it works. Actually, I'm going to remove all of the items that are currently connected, and I'm going to also remove these dashes, and I'm going to explain to you step by step how this works. So first of all, you grab the text wrap component. It's going to be on the Framer University website. You just copy and paste it into your Framer project. Then on the right panel, you write the text, the paragraph that you want to have within this component. And then you're going to notice that, okay, I have this, but how do I get these little items inside of my text? Well, that's a really great question, and here's how it works. So first of all, you have to define little slots inside of your paragraph so that the component knows where to put the elements that you're eventually connecting. So the slot is defined here, but you can have any character for the slot, but you probably want to have something that isn't usually used in text, which, you know, dash is actually used in text usually. So maybe we do a little bracket like this. So 2 brackets, and you just copy this slot and you put it where you want to have little elements appear in the paragraph. So all we do is we just click here, for example, and we just have 3 slots here. As you can see, we're going to have 1 element here, 1 element here, 1 element here. Netflix, Spotify, and Framer, for example. And I also want to show one here between the... Actually, I don't actually remember where it was. Maybe here? Maybe between the and many, or after many. I don't know. I don't remember. So yeah, once we defined these slots, now all we have to do is to populate those slots. So you just grab this connector and connect to a random frame that you have laying on your canvas. And as you can see, once I do that, the first slot has been populated. As you can see, I no longer see 3 bracket slots. I can only see 2 here, and of course a third one here. If I connect another one, it will be appearing here after Netflix. So as you can see, Netflix, Spotify, and I'm going to populate this slot as well by connecting Framer, and then this slot as well here by connecting these other little icons. That's it. It's that simple. And as you can see, it's fully responsive. It breaks into new lines without any issues. You can play around with the other properties like layer gap and like baseline, alignment, color. So feel free to play around with these to make sure that you get the effect that you're really looking for. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's basically it. This is how you put stuff inside of your text layers and in your paragraphs inside of Framer. And of course, then you can have little interactions on these and you can make it really interesting and exciting. For example, you can see that in this case, these images have the magnetic hover component, which is another component from the Fame Universe website that was not featured in this video up until now. But yeah, it's just a cool little component, and I hope that you're gonna have fun with it. So yeah, basically that's it for this video. I really hope that these 6 components will help you take your sites to the next level. If you have any questions about these, or you got stuck somewhere, or you're looking for a component that isn't on Framer University, make sure to drop a comment. I'm gonna do my best to answer all of them. And yeah, make sure to check out again Framer University for these cool resources. I think if you're building websites with Framer or you're currently learning, it's just gonna be an awesome resource for you. And again, it's completely free and you can use these in any project, both personal and commercial. So yeah, take advantage of them. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.